What's up, everybody? Bill Colarulo from Unfiltered. You can listen to us every day from 2 to 6. But today, my closing arguments. We do this at the end of every week where we take a look back at some of the main topics on the show, and I give you my closing argument. We got into a lot this week, and most of it had to do with the Phillies, but we also talked about the Eagles and their training camp continuing. We'll get there, but let's start with the fighting Phils. Been kind of a roller coaster week. You saw them sweep the Texas Rangers in Texas, and then they go into Cincinnati, and the offense goes cold. Tell me you've heard that story before. But now there's also some real concerns with the starting rotation. Let's start there. I've been pretty consistent all season long with this Phillies team that they are true World Series contenders because of the starting rotation. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen them do a little more in terms of the lineup at the trade deadline, but I always felt like this starting rotation makes them good enough that they could beat any team in the playoffs. Especially now that we got the MLB playoff schedule and you look at the divisional series, there's an extra day rest between game 1 and game 2, which means you only need 3 starters in the divisional series. Now, you'll need 4 come the NLCS, but we'll worry about that when we get there. But what's going on with this starting rotation? Zach Wheeler hasn't been the same guy since the All-Star break. Hopefully it's just fatigue. Hopefully there's nothing going on there, but they did push his start from Friday to Sunday. He still has his velocity down. You look at the numbers, he's not anywhere near where he was from a velocity standpoint. Hopefully it's just fatigue. But then you got Ranger Suarez. Ranger has struggled. And this isn't the first time we've seen this story either. You go back to last year. Before the All-Star break, Ranger Suarez was a real Cy Young candidate. He then has to miss some time for back soreness. He comes back. He was never really the same pitcher the rest of the second half of that season last year. And now we're seeing more of the same. He started the season on the IL. He comes back. He's pitching great. Well, his last few starts, you've seen him fall off. His velocity's down. His command is off. So now what do you have in terms of a starting rotation? Who can you trust in the postseason? I'm still not overly concerned about Zach Wheeler. This guy is a true professional. He's a stud. I think he's going to figure it out. And I think maybe the way that Rob Thompson can help this staff is switch to a 6-man rotation. Because what we also know is that Aaron Nola, pitching very well in Lehigh Valley, is set to come back and meet this team in Washington this weekend, may even start on Sunday against the Nationals. So if you have Aaron Nola coming back, you got a real luxury because you have Taijuan Walker, who's actually pitching pretty well right now. Never thought I would have said that headed into the season. But Walker's battled this year. So now you could roll out a 6-man rotation that has Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo, Nola, Ranger, and Taijuan Walker that maybe can help these guys because that starting rotation has pitched the most innings of any starting rotation in all of Major League Baseball. You got to limit those innings down the stretch. But can you rely on Ranger Suarez at this point? I'm not sure that you can. I know he's a gamer. I know we love Ranger. But I'm just not sure you can rely on him as a potential starter in the postseason. It's looking more and more likely to me that in that 5-game series where you only need 3 pitchers in the NLDS, you may see Wheeler, Sanchez, and Aaron Nola as your 3rd starter. And you may be thinking, well, what about Jesus Luzardo? I'm not sure you could trust Luzardo right now. He hasn't been able to pitch out of the stretch. He had issues with tipping pitches. I think it's more likely you see Luzardo and Ranger head to that bullpen to try to help out that bullpen, and you have a 3 starting rotation of Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola. But we have to hope that Aaron Nola is not the Aaron Nola he was before his IL stint. Hopefully that was just injuries. He's going to come back and he's going to dominate. But that's certainly something to watch with this Phillies team as the season progresses. How much can you trust this starting rotation? I'm hoping it's just fatigue and these guys start to get it back. But another question with that Phillies team is the outfield. It's been really interesting. Over the last couple of weeks since the trade deadline, Rob Thompson has platooned in the outfield. You saw a platoon in left field with Max Kepler and Weston Wilson. You saw a platoon in center with Brandon Marsh and Harrison Bader. And you saw Nick Castellanos pretty much in there every single day, except for 1 game against the Texas Rangers. And we were told it's just because the turf is really difficult in Texas. Not sure I'm buying it. But then this week, there was a right-hander on the mound in Cincinnati. And instead of platooning the way he always did, Rob Thompson put Brandon Marsh in left, put Harrison Bader in center, and put Castellanos in right. Could that be a sign of things to come that this is going to be your everyday outfield? That's what my vote is. Now, I've said this on the air and I'll say it again. Rob Thompson seems to be pressing all the right buttons. I am not going to question him if he decides to continue the platoon. I'm not really a platoon guy, but if it's working, I'm not going to argue with it. But ideally for me, what I would like to see is a more set outfield. Brandon Marsh in left, Harrison Bader in center, Nick Castellanos in right. I think Harrison Bader is your best defensive center fielder. There's no doubt about it. We also know that this year Bader has better splits against right-handers than left-handers. So it doesn't really make sense to platoon him when there's a right-hander on the mound. Brandon Marsh in left. I know we haven't trusted him against left-handed pitching all year. I think he's earned a shot. You look at his numbers after the first 2 months of the season, Brandon Marsh has been one of your best hitters. Granted, it's only against right-handed pitching, but I think you don't know what you don't know. Let's see what he can do against left-handed pitching right now since he's seeing the ball so well. And then you may be asking, well, what about Nick Castellanos in right? He's been ice cold since the All-Star break. He's under the Mendoza line since the All-Star break, hitting under 200, and he's a terrible fielder. I get all that. But he also brings you the most upside because even though Casty is streaky, when he is hot, he is red hot. He is white hot. Remember a couple years ago in the postseason, Castellanos was doing things even Mr. October, Reggie Jackson didn't do. I know, and then he fell off and he fell off hard. But I still think you have to live and die with Nick Castellanos in that lineup and hope that he gets hot at the right time. I wouldn't platoon Casty. But what I would do, defensive substitutions late. There is no reason why Nick Castellanos should be in there in right field if you have the lead late in the game, especially in the postseason. And that's why I think you keep Max Kepler on this team. I wouldn't DFA him. I would keep him here. He can be a left-handed bat off the bench, but he could also be a late game defensive substitution out in right for Nick Castellanos. Because if you have that as your outfield, let's imagine you got the lead, 8th inning, and you decide to make the defensive substitution. So your outfield now is Marsh in left, Bader in center, Kepler in right. That's a pretty damn good defense. And he gives you that left-handed bat off the bench. I would keep Weston Wilson here when Alec Boehm gets called up, which should be happening soon, and send down Otto Kemp. At first I was thinking, you know what, maybe keep Otto Kemp here. But I think Weston Wilson gives you more flexibility. He's a better fielder than Otto Kemp. He's been swinging a hotter bat right now than Otto Kemp. And now that's your bench pieces. You got Weston Wilson as your right-handed bat off the bench. You got Max Kepler as your left-handed bat off the bench, but you also have Kepler as a defensive substitution in right for Nick Castellanos. Obviously, you still have Edmundo Sosa. If he's not starting at second, he can always come in and pinch hit for Bryson Stott late in games as well. Boehm comes back. So this team, I know they've been frustrating. I know it's a roller coaster. But if the starting pitching, maybe it's a big if, but if the starting pitching gets healthy and they're not fatigued, and you get this outfield, and you get Alec Boehm coming back, and you got Aaron Nola coming back, and now you got Joan Duran at the back end of that pen. You got David Robertson coming here. He's pitched okay in his one outing so far this season. You still have Kirkring and Strom. You're going to have Alvarado down the stretch. I still feel pretty good about this baseball team. So we'll see how it all plays out. I know we got PTSD of postseasons past, but they're a good team. Just hang in there. And then as we talk about good teams, you got to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. So they had their joint practices with the Cleveland Browns this week. At least after the first practice, none of the defensive backs stepped up to win that other outside cornerback job. I know a lot of people were hoping Jacorian Bennett would come in here and just shine right away and win the starting job from Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson. That hasn't happened. So that's something to watch. This is a good football team. There's only a few questions on it, but one of them, outside corner. The other, who's the starting safety next to Reed Blankenship. Good news, rookie Drew Makuba has been practicing. I think you want him to win that job. Sidney Brown, as much as we love him because he plays with reckless abandon, that also can come back to haunt him. I think we should be hoping Drew Makuba wins that job. And if you've heard Andrew DeCecco, our Birds insider who's on the show all the time, he's been high on Drew Makuba even before the Eagles drafted him. So it's a good sign that he's back, he's practicing. Let's hope he can win that job. But that other outside cornerback position, definitely something to watch and monitor. But at the end of the day, this is still a good football team. They just have to stay healthy. The big news this week, Landon Dickerson's meniscus. We were all holding our breath that it wasn't going to be a full repair and a season-ending injury. Thankfully, it wasn't. If you were listening to the show, we had my man, Dr. Chris Radcliffe, orthopedic surgeon from Harvard and Duke Medical School, call in. And even before it got announced that they were only going to do the minor procedure, that's what he predicted. They would probably do a little trim. He'd be out a few weeks, and then he'd be just fine. Fingers crossed that's going to be the case, because Brett Toth is taking the left guard starting reps right now. Look, wish Brett Toth the best. He's not Landon Dickerson. Landon Dickerson's one of the best guards in the league, so you got to hope he's healthy for game one against the Dallas Cowboys. But leave all your comments below. Love to hear what you have to say about all these topics we got into today. This was Closing Arguments with Bill Colarulo, but you can get me every day with my man Ricky Bowe, producer Silvana Kelleher, and our Birds Insider Andrew DeCecco every Monday through Friday, 2 to 6, unfiltered. See you there.
Thanks for watching Unfiltered on YouTube. You could like and subscribe down here. You could also see our other shows over here. Go ahead and watch them all. We love when you watch. The one thing, hey, you could also catch us on 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com, and NBC Sports Philadelphia. See you there.